you're taking off tasks for your mentor, but it's also adding value to you and giving you practical experience that you need to then add to your resume and make you more marketable and increase your skill in doing so. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders navigate interpersonal and organizational complexities for greater instructional impact. Now, today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to me. It's a topic that I truly believe in, and that is mentorship matters. I truly believe in the importance of mentorship. And you being an aspiring school leader means that mentorship could be the difference between you landing that first position and also in a timely manner, right? Like the time frame that you are looking for could largely be dependent on the type of mentor that you have. And then once you get into the role, having ongoing mentorship can be the difference between you being effective at what you do and you actually struggling to create change, right? And so when I think about mentorship, I think about two potential leaders that can serve as a mentor. And so the first school leader is somebody that is focused on leading their school well. They're focused on supporting and developing their teachers. They're focused on raising student achievement, right? All great things. They can serve as an amazing mentor. But the second type of leader that I think is truly committed to mentorship is the person who focuses not only on all the things that the first leader focuses on, right? Like supporting and developing teachers and raising student achievement, all those great things, but they're also focused on developing other leaders. Because we know that a sign of a great leader is in their ability to develop other leaders. I think it's one thing to be able to lead well in your particular role, but it's another thing to lead well in your particular role, but then also train other people to do what you do. Because I think it's extremely important to think about legacy, right? In the book, Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about legacy. He talks about sustainability, right? What does that look like? That looks like not in someone's ability to just lead well and be excellent at what they do, but it's also to be able to train other people, because in order to sustain the system, you have to train somebody to take over once it is your time to retire or once it is your time to move on to the next thing. So the second type of school leader who is committed to your ongoing growth and support and development is somebody that I think you need to consider in terms of being your mentor. And it reminds me of something that my pastor always says. He says, at some point as a leader, you have to move beyond seeing how much fruit you can bear to now planting trees. And what I got from that was there's only so much fruit that you can bear in your own strength and your own ability to lead. But when you start to plant trees, when you start to raise up other leaders, that's when you truly make an impact that is going to leave a legacy. Why? Because the individuals that you pour into can then impact the areas and environments that they go into to lead. And that all comes from your ability to pour into other people and to invest in the development of others. So I think that's extremely important when it comes to mentorship. And a mentor with a wealth of experience can offer insights into the complexities of school leadership that textbooks and theory often overlook. So there's only so much information that you can learn from reading a book. There's only so much information that you can take from a course. But when you have a mentor who's committed to your ongoing support, who can get you in rooms where decisions are made, that's when you truly are learning and you're truly developing. There's something that I also want to mention. When it comes to finding a mentor, I think one of the most important things that we look at is the years of experience that a person has been in a particular role, which I think is critical. It's important. But I also think that it's important to look at what are the results of the person who is serving in that particular role, right? Years of experience don't necessarily equate to results. And so when you're looking at a school leader who could potentially be your mentor, look at the results of what they have done. What type of change have they created? Who else have they trained that went on to be effective leaders in their particular roles? Those are the things that I want you to think about when it comes to identifying a mentor who can effectively lead you, right? Look at the results of their experience and not just the years of their experience, because a mentor provides a clearer, more nuanced understanding of what it takes to lead effectively. So there are a ton of complexities that you are going to have to deal with as it relates to interpersonal relations, as it relates to the way that you communicate with other people, and also as it relates to you helping to lead a particular building or a department. And so a mentor is also going to help you develop that confidence that you need to lead effectively. Another critical aspect of mentorship is that a mentor can effectively help you to see the implications of the decisions that you are going to make, right? So for example, if you are creating an affinity group, once you get the role of school leader, a mentor can help you try to figure out the implications of you creating an affinity group for one group of individuals, but not creating it for another, right? What are we saying when we create a group for one group of individuals, one group of students, one group of teachers, but we also aren't providing options for other people? Your mentor can also, and this is a really controversial topic when it comes to education, right, is a dress code. So I want you to think about what are the implications of a dress code once you begin to start enforcing whatever it is that you decide to enforce, right? Like, what are the implications of it? Is the dress code going to target a specific group of people, right? Is it inherently biased? Right? Those are the things, the implications of the decisions that you make. Your mentor can help you sift through all of that. And that's why I believe that mentorship is truly important, because there are going to be decisions that you make that affect groups of people all the time. Every decision that you make is not going to please a certain group of people. That's just the way leadership is. But the mentor can help you determine the implications of those decisions and try to limit the effects or the negative effects that you are going to potentially receive, right? So mentorship is extremely important. So I want to give you 4 myths regarding mentorship as an aspiring school leader. So myth number 1 is that mentorship only is for beginners, which is not true, right? That's obviously not true. Once you land the position of school leader, you want to continue to have a mentor. That doesn't mean that mentorship is done. I truly am a firm believer in we should always be mentored by somebody, but we should also be mentoring somebody, because it's a really dangerous position to be in as a leader if you're only mentoring and pouring into other people, but you're not being poured into, because we all have limited ways of thinking. And so it's important to have a mentor that can provide you with a different perspective, that then when it's time for you to lead, you are considering the perspective of your mentor, but then you're also pouring into somebody else and raising them up to be a great leader as well. Myth number 2, mentorship is a one-way street, and that is obviously not true. Mentorship should be beneficial for both parties. And so what I mean by that is you want to be the type of mentee that is also adding value to your mentor. So it's not necessarily about you just receiving information, receiving strategies that are going to help you become a leader that is effective in your role. It's also about you doing something that's going to add value to the leader that you're getting information from. What does that look like? That looks like if your mentor, because here's the thing, you are going to be mentored by somebody who is going to have a busy schedule. And so I don't want you to think of you just receiving. I want you to think of this reciprocal relationship that you can create. What value can you add to your mentor that then allows you to take something off of their plate, lessen their load, but also gives you an opportunity to learn some information added to your resume that will make you more marketable, right? So you see the reciprocal relationship here. It's not just that you're taking off tasks for your mentor, but you're taking off tasks for your mentor, but it's also adding value to you and giving you practical experience that you need to then add to your resume and make you more marketable and increase your skill in doing so, right? Like that is an important reciprocal aspect of mentorship that you have to think about. What can you do to add value that's going to ultimately add value to you? Myth number 3, mentorship is a formal, structured process. Now, mentorship can be a structured process with an agenda, with scripted questions that you are asking your mentor. But I want you to think about mentorship as not limited to time and space. What does that look like? That looks like I have mentors that I listen to on a daily basis online, right? And so I want you to think about the fact that mentorship is just not limited to let's sit down, let's have this conversation. Sometimes mentorship, and I'm big on this, mentorship looks like you being in proximity of your mentor to learn how to deal with complex situations. When your mentor is on the phone with a parent, are you actually listening and taking notes so that you can go back and be reflective to learn how to deal with complex conversations, conflict management when it comes to talking with parents, right? Are you actually listening? Are you actually paying attention to those complex situations? Your mentor in that situation did not verbally express to you what to do. However, you should be actively listening and taking notes so that you can figure out how to navigate those complex situations when they arise, because they are going to arise. There are so many times that proximity has led to me learning more than a formal conversation. And let me tell you this, proximity is also important because you need to be in rooms where decisions are made. There are so many times that I've received responsibility, I've received experience, I've received opportunities to go and do things to better the school community, and also increase some experience for me just by being in the room. Because when you're in the room, ideas begin to flow. You start to be in the ecosystem where ideas are flowing, and then people start thinking about, okay, let's do this. And then you have an area and expertise in an area where somebody does not. And so you can volunteer to then take on that initiative. Again, you're adding value to the school community, but then you're also adding value in making yourself more marketable, right? It's a reciprocal relationship as it relates to mentorship. And our 4th myth is only one mentor is needed. Now, this situation can be a little bit nuanced because although I think it's important maybe to have more than one mentor, I think sometimes if you have too many mentors, it can cause a little bit of confusion, because ultimately you need to be listening to yourself, right? Like what is true to you. So once you find a mentor who is going to be your primary person of contact, I think it is also beneficial to have somebody else, maybe a secondary person that you're also learning from, right? And that person might be in the virtual space. That person might be somebody that's in a different field than you, in terms of they're not in education, but they're in business, right? They're not in education, but they're in tech. There is some crossover as it relates to what you can learn from that person and what they can pour into you as a mentor. So yes, I truly believe that it is important to have more than one mentor, but be strategic and not have too many mentors, because listening to too many voices can only confuse you into ultimately listening to yourself, right? So it's important to vet your mentors, figure out who is going to be your primary person, but then you might also figure out who might be your secondary mentor. As we begin to wrap up, I want to go over 3 reasons why mentorship matters for an aspiring school leader like you. And that is, number 1, crisis management. Now, as an aspiring school leader, you have to realize that you are somebody that is ultimately responsible for dealing with crisis. Regardless of the situation that happens in your school, hopefully it doesn't happen, right? Hopefully you're not dealing with a severe crisis, but sometimes things happen, right? And even if it's not to the magnitude of being an actual crisis, if there's just an emergency, you are partly responsible for figuring out how to deal with that situation along with your team. And so a mentor can actually guide you through dealing with situations, because that should be your primary person that you go to when it comes to dealing with complex issues. And your mentor is going to be able to support you and guide you and provide you with a blueprint as it relates to how you deal with an emergency, how you deal with a situation where a student might unfortunately break their arm, or a student might unfortunately trip and hit their head. Like, how do you deal with that, right? How do you deal with just your basic monthly drills, like a fire drill, bomb evacuation drills, shelter in place? Like, what is it that you do in those moments of crisis? And your mentor is extremely important when it comes to dealing with that, because your leadership is going to rise or fall to the level of your ability to deal with crisis. So number 2, your mentor can help you discover and refine your unique leadership style. What does that mean? Now, it's important to have a mentor who is effective at their role and they're getting results and you can learn from them. But it's important that you also refine your leadership style based off of what you see and what you hear your mentor doing. I'm not saying that you copy them or try to replicate who they are, because ultimately you have to be yourself, and that's the way that you'll be the most effective leader once you get into the role. But I am saying that there are aspects of your mentor's leadership that you can adopt and make it your own, right? The power of leadership is found in your ability to be unique in who you are, be authentic in who you are. And the way that you do that is, yes, gleaning from your mentors, but it's also being authentic in who you are. So what I'm saying is that learn from your mentors, but adopt their principles and ultimately create and develop and discover who you are as a leader so that you can lead more effectively. And then number 3, in terms of reasons why mentorship matters as an aspiring school leader, is that your mentor is going to help you uncover blind spots. We all have areas where we need to learn. We don't know what we don't know. So if we go back to the previous example that I gave at the beginning of this conversation, when I talked about the first mentor who is committed to leading their particular school well, they're committed to raising student achievement, they're committed to raising up teachers who are effective, and they're committed to developing their teachers, all great things. But sometimes when you have a mentor who only is available to you when you have questions, you don't know what questions to ask all the time because you don't know what you don't know. If you have a mentor who is committed to your ongoing growth and development, regardless of the questions that you ask as a mentee, they're going to consistently pour into you. It's not going to be a situation where it's your responsibility to always reach out to them with questions, to always reach out to them with ideas, right? That is not the most effective mentor. The most effective mentors are the ones who are constantly teaching you. And those are the type of mentors that you want to run toward, the mentors that are teaching you as well as leading their schools effectively, because there is a difference. And I'm not saying that, and here's the thing, like sometimes you don't have the discernment yet to really figure out what it is that you are looking for in a mentor, or like who's that person that's going to be teaching you along the way. And that's fine. I get it. You might not always have that particular mentor, but if you do, I want you to constantly be learning from them, constantly be gleaning from them as it relates to them helping you uncover those blind spots. Because I want to go back. At the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. So if you have a mentor who is committed to teaching you, to guiding you, and not just a mentor who's available to answer your questions, that's the most effective mentor, right? The mentor that's like, hey, call me if you need me, text me if you need me. It's great, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and you need somebody that's going to constantly be committed to pouring into you. Whatever they learn, they teach you. Whatever professional development that they go to, they share that with you. Whatever projects they're working on, they're sharing that information with you. So it's more of a proactive approach to being a mentor as opposed to a more passive approach, right? I think both can be effective, sure, but I also want you to consider as an aspiring school leader that you don't know what you don't know. And even in every role that we have, right? Not just if you're an aspiring school leader, it's for everybody. We don't know what we don't know. So when it comes to mentorship, eventually you are going to, and hopefully even now you are in the seat of being a mentor to somebody else. I want you to consider that. What are you pouring into your mentee on a consistent basis? Not just offering availability in a time of need. I think that's extremely important and a distinction that we need to make. So as we begin to wrap up, I hope that this video added value, and if it did, share it with somebody else. But before we go, I'd love to hear in the comments, what is one thing that you look for in a mentor? I'll be looking forward to seeing your responses. Like always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.